Welcome to an unboxing of a product that I have only good things to say about. This is the Glacer 240L liquid CPU cooler from Cooler Master. It was designed in collaboration with my favorite DIY liquid cooling brand Swiftech, and you're gonna see an awful lot of Swiftech DNA in this particular product. So first is some eco-friendly packaging with some foam that I actually don't remember where it went. I accidentally took it out last time we were trying to do the unboxing, but I screwed up that shot. Next up, we find the installation guide. Then we find the fully assembled, guys, this is a pre-filled, ready-to-rock liquid cooling unit, and then some assembly hardware. So you've got some Cooler Master thermal paste, you've got some mounting brackets that are made out of nice solid steel, extremely robust, and you've got Swiftech's, I believe, excellent mounting hardware. While there are a lot of pieces, Swiftech does a great job of ensuring that the mounting clamping force, the pressure on the CPU socket, is correct and within the manufacturer's specifications. Next up, we find the Radiator and Fan Unit itself, which is wrapped in a protective bubble wrap to keep it from being damaged in transit. We'll start with the Radiator Reservoir combo unit. So on the top here, we find a fill port plug, which you can keep closed if you're not planning to expand the system or swap out the coolant in it for whatever reason. And then we find the first Cooler Master addition to the product. These are their Blademaster Fans, designed for static pressure as opposed to free-flowing airflow, which is great because they're on a nice fat radiator. We also find an extremely heavy and robustly built radiator with full copper brass construction. No aluminum even on the fins. What that means is simply better performance per sort of surface area compared to other products on the market, and compatibility really hasn't been affected much by all of this robustness, although you will need a little bit more space than you do for your typical radiator because the tank on the one end is a little bit longer than normal to account for that reservoir and that fill port, and then on the other side you have your typical clearance required for fittings. Speaking of fittings, Cooler Master includes 3/8" elbow fittings that can actually be fully rotated, so if you wanted to mount the unit fully the other way, you could definitely go ahead and do that, and they can actually have the nice little custom clamps that are holding the tubing on removed, so you can swap out different tubing should you see fit, whether it's for aesthetic reasons or whether you want to expand the system to add a graphics card water block or something like that down the line. It's fully expandable and customizable, and you can even add more radiators and all kinds of cool, crazy stuff like that. One of the reasons that this one will actually perform a little bit better than Swiftech's own version of it is the fact that Cooler Master has gone with a higher RPM on the pump. So that leads us to the pump and CPU block combo unit here, which has a nice little Cooler Master badge on the top of it here with brushed accents. So most of the magic is actually hidden away here. So that pump I talked about before is built into the CPU block unit, which is capped with an excellent, again, Swiftech designed microfin water block that has a copper base plate that is finished to a beautiful, beautiful shine, although it comes with some tape that we're gonna leave on until we do our performance testing just to make sure that it is as clean as possible. Make sure you don't install it with that, please. There's also one mounting bracket pre-installed, so if you're gonna be installing on most Intel sockets, you're gonna be ready to rock just by unscrewing the 4 screws that are pre-installed on it, throwing that back plate on, and screwing it onto your motherboard socket. Then that leads us to the fittings that are built into the CPU block unit, which are, again, rotating fittings, giving you a lot of flexibility in terms of where you mount your radiator and where you mount your tubing, as well as those same removable clamps, so you can swap out the tubing for something else should you see fit. The last thing here that I want to show you guys is how the power works. So there is a single lead for RPM monitoring as well as PWM control that goes to your CPU header, and then power for the pump itself is provided by a Sata power connector. I'm not 100% sure how I feel about that because normally I wouldn't route my SATA cables towards my CPU socket, they would go towards the drive cages. But the flip side of that is if you have an optical drive, you could carry another part of the harness over there, or you could just use a Molex to SATA adapter, which are inexpensive, practically free, and then you can run whatever cable you want up there. So it's quite a flexible implementation if nothing else.
In our testing rig, we have a 3930K overclocked at 4.0 gigahertz, running a voltage of 1.3 volts to kick some more heat out. Then we also have a GTX 5 2580 running a little bit overclocked and running Afterburner so that it generates some heat too, and the CPU is crunching numbers on Prime 95 small FFTs. We tested the cooler with its stock fans and Noctua NF F12s. The reason why we do this is we test all of our coolers with Noctua NF F12 so that we have another constant, and we're not basing the coolers on the fans necessarily, but we also test it with stock so you can see how it'll perform right out of the box. Performance was pretty straightforward and expected. It slotted basically right beside its brother, the H220, on both tests, idle and load. We noticed with its stock fans that it was slightly worse than the NF F12s, but still very solid performance on both of the tests. One additional observation that I had was, while this pump is 500 RPM faster, I don't know if I would run it at that. Unless you're doing something like adding in a few graphics cards, that pump is quite loud, and I turned it down pretty much as much as I could. When you're looking into water coolers, in the comments below, are you looking more for an all-in-one that you never have to change and would never be able to change easily? Or are you looking more into something like this cooler, the 240L, where you can add graphics cards or something to it? Like the video if you like the video, dislike the video if you dislike the video, and always please subscribe to Linus Tech Tips.